Okay, good evening. My name is Will. This is our November monthly virtual meeting for the South End Water Main Project, what we're calling the SWIM project. It's a Charlotte Water Project, which is a City of Charlotte division. This is our third meeting. These are going to be regular monthly meetings, so if you missed them, you can find them on our website. But otherwise, they should be recurring to give updates about how the project is proceeding. Tonight's meeting will be moderated by Cam. He's going to keep track of the recording that will eventually get posted to the website that's right there. This is our South Water Main project website. And he's also going to keep his eye on the Q&A feature. So if you have a question that you would like to ask, go ahead and type it into the chat function there. And we'll go ahead and potentially address it later if the question is relatively simple. If it's a more complex question, then it may take some time to give a longer response, and those answers will all get posted to this website here. Again, this is the best place to either watch the old presentations from September and October, and then this presentation will also get posted there. The recording will get posted there tomorrow. And then lastly, we're going to have plug this as well. If you want to get text updates about when the next meetings are and or just progress about the construction project itself, you can text South End Water Main to 31996. You'll get text messages periodically. We haven't been sending out lots of them, so if you're afraid of getting too many, don't worry about that. But we have been sending them out in terms of informing people about where we are in our construction sequence. So just briefly, the format's going to be, I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that's been completed so far. Then we're going to talk about the work that we're going to proceed to do through the end of the year, the beginning of next year. And then I've got a few slides just about I wanted to throw some pictures up and talk about how a water main gets built, specific parts of the process here. So I'm calling it Construction 101. And then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. Again, you can put those questions in the Q&A chat box on the right there, the WebEx feature. And then lastly, there will be the contacts. We'll get posted back up here again. So if you need further information or want to reach out to someone about an issue you may be having, that's the best place to go. So, so far we've completed what we're calling phase 2, and that was down starting sort of near the South Boulevard, Scaly Bark intersection, and proceeding up past Whitten Street here. We had Whitten closed. You may have noticed you couldn't turn left onto Whitten. You couldn't turn, basically you couldn't turn either southbound or northbound onto Whitten. And so now we have completed that. We put the pipe in the ground. We tested it to make sure it would hold pressure. And then we went ahead and backfilled over it and paved over it as well. And then we had a few service connections that we've gone under South Boulevard right around here. We've added a new hydrant and made it so that we can connect the future services in. We haven't actually made any live service connections just yet. We just set it up to make it possible a little bit later down the line here. And then we've gone ahead and proceeded into what we're calling phase 3. So we've moved our barrier wall north. So now the barrier wall is a little bit further up there. Whitten is back open now, so you can turn left off of South Boulevard onto Whitten. And if you're coming down South Boulevard, you can turn to Whitten as well to get over here to the auto zone or get back behind Carvana or any businesses back there if you need to. In the next 30 to 90 days, you'll notice that Hollis Road has been closed down here as we make the connection between the new line and the services down Hollis. We're going to go ahead and keep putting pipe in the ground going north past Hollis. Eventually, we'll have to close Hartford Road as well. Just a point of clarification, Hartford won't be closed at the same time as Hollis. So Hollis will be fully reopened before we close Hartford. That way, one of those roads will always be open. You'll notice there's some barrier wall right here at the Clanton intersection. So if you're going north on South Boulevard right now, you cannot turn left onto Clanton. And then likewise, if you're coming down Clanton, you cannot turn left on the South Boulevard, at least for our phase 3 work. We're hoping to finish up this phase 3 work the next 30 to 90 days. We'll go ahead and fill the pipe and test it to make sure that it's all good and it holds pressure. And then we're also likely going to be dropping back to our phase 1. We had to sort of delay our phase 1, which is the actual tie-in of this new line to an existing 30-inch line. There's a large water main that runs down Freeland I'm going to cross South Boulevard, and then it goes down Scaly Park all the way to Woodlawn. We're going to go ahead and drop back, and we had some operational issues that we've resolved. We're going to drop back and make that connection as well. But then phase one will just be the tie-in at the Scaly Park and South Boulevard intersection. And so at that point, we'll be done with phase 1, 2, and 3. And we'll proceed northward. One thing that you'll notice that we're about to be in the rainy season, and so if it is indeed raining, I guess one of the downsides of putting a pipe in the ground is you have to dig a trench to put it into, and then when it rains, that trench fills with water. So it's a safety precaution. We don't typically work in the rain, and then once the rain stops, there's a lot of effort that has to go into taking all the water that is in our trench and removing that water and putting it somewhere else. So, yeah, we're going to proceed northward, and phase 3 will, right now it stops just past Hartford. We'll eventually proceed into phase 4, which will lead a little bit further up the road. Okay, let's see here. So let's talk a little bit about construction. I previously had mentioned that, if you wanted to see, where construction really was happening, you just look for the trench box, right? The trench box is going to be where our guys are specifically in the ground putting in a piece of pipe. So that's sort of the front, that's where the real work's happening, where the pipe's going in the ground, wherever the trench box is. After we get done putting the pipe in the ground and we get done filling with water, and we test the water, and we also test to make sure that the pipe is holding the water and it's all been installed correctly. And at that point, we start to do the process of rebuilding the roadway. And so a big part of rebuilding the roadway is, putting dirt back in the trench and then compacting it. And we'll put, a little dirt in, compact some, a little bit more dirt in, compact some more. And so we'll gradually build up the ground back to the regular surface level, compacting as we go, before we go ahead and pave over it. Now, this is really important, right? We want to make sure that pavement can withstand all the weight and repeated heavy cars and trucks that drive over top of it, and the pavement will last as long as possible. So we go ahead and do a lot of compaction. A lot of work goes into putting that ground back in the trench. And you see this guy on the right here. He's actually out here testing. He's got an instrument here that will test that compaction to make sure that it meets all the requirements, all the Department of Transportation requirements, so that road will be strong and able and capable to withstand the loads from cars and trucks as it drives over a long many years, right? We want that road to last as long as possible. So we do a lot of effort goes into compaction and compaction testing before we get down to paving. Additionally, these pipes, we're hoping they're going to last a really long time. So one of the things we have to worry about is corrosion. When you put a pipe in the ground, it's in contact with soil. We're using ductile iron piping for this product specifically. And so that iron can have a tendency to corrode over the many years, being in contact with soil. We've compacted over top of it. So on this product, we've actually installed some test stations that will give us the ability to sort of monitor how well that pipe is lasting and how much corrosion might become an issue in the distant future. So here's one of our technicians right now. He's actually testing out the test station, so to speak, to make sure that it's operational and working, so that we can come back year after year and see how that pipe is lasting. If you're really interested in corrosion control, feel free to reach out to me or put a question in the chat box, and I can get you some more information about it. It's kind of complicated, so I don't want to get into it on this call. And then, going back out to the beginning of the process, before we actually remove the pavement, we try to figure out where all the existing utilities are. So if you're driving down South Boulevard now, you'll notice there's a bunch of blue hash marks and dots. That's actually where we think the existing water line is. You might see yellow marks as well. That's where we think the existing gas line is. So even though we're pretty sure we know where those utilities are, it always is smart to just go out there and try to specifically dig a small hole in the pavement to really figure out where those utilities are and locate them. And so we call this soft digging. You might see this truck way out in front of our construction site, but still part of our work zone. And it's basically a two-man crew. This big truck here is basically like a giant vacuum. So this is a big vacuum line that we can put down, and we can sort of suck dirt out of a hole, right? You can see this guy has a saw, right? So he has sawed a small hole with his saw here. They've removed some of the asphalt. This guy here, he's got basically a big, long sort of like toothpick, right, that has air that flows through it. And so he'll jab down in that hole and kind of break up and loosen up the debris and the dirt. And then the other guy will vacuum out that dirt. And through that process of sort of slowly picking away and vacuuming up, you can eventually dig a really deep, small hole, and you can get down to where the actual water line or gas line is, and you can discover and see. And then you know specifically exactly where it is and how deep it is. So then we can make sure we avoid digging it up or puncturing it or causing any problems when we're actually going out and starting to dig and put in our new water line. It's called a soft dig because this process is fairly gentle, right? So as opposed to using a big backhoe or excavator where you're sort of digging with a big blunt instrument, you may damage something in the process. This is much more specific and exact and soft and gentle, and it's safe, much safer to do a utility location with this soft digging apparatus. That's all I've got for in terms of updates and construction and sort of a little bit of one-on-one. If you have any questions about sort of how we're building the water line, about the specific part of the process, I would love to answer more of those in the future. I always enjoy speaking to that question about what's going on and how are we doing it. It's interesting, at least to me. So if it's interesting to you, feel free to submit questions or send emails as well. The best way to ask questions or to ask for specific information is to send an email to this email address right here. This email actually goes out to a few different people on my team here, so it's the best way to sort of make sure that your question gets to someone that can answer the appropriate question, appropriate person. Also, you can just go to the Charlotte Swim website. This URL will relocate to our city URL until this website gets actually officially launched. And then lastly, I mentioned this before, you can go ahead and text South End Water to 31996. That will give you the most up-to-date messages coming out to you on your cell phone. If we have any issues or as we're moving up the corridor, we'll send out little alerts here and there to talk about what's going on. Okay, let's see here. I saw one question here in the chat box about when Atherton Mill will be impacted. So we're looking at a month or two roughly per phase of this project, and I'm pretty sure Atherton Mills is closer to one of the later phases. So I think it might be in phase 8 or phase 9. So that currently on our current timeline, that's not projected to really, we're not going to be up in that area until October-ish of next year at the earliest. That's the way it sort of stands right now. I mean, obviously, as we progress forward, we can continue to post updates of the timeline on our website. But for now, our traffic disruptions our traffic zones are going to end well south of, I guess, like the New Bern, Marsh Road area. So I hope that answered that question. If you want more information, or if that doesn't answer the question, again, feel free to send an email to this and I can provide more information. Okay, and then lastly, one more time, I just wanted to go ahead and point out, ways you can get in touch with us. So this info@charlotteswim.com is sort of the best option, number one. If you don't feel like you're getting a response, you want to reach out to me directly. My name is Will. I work for Charlotte Water. This is actually my email address. And then this is my cell phone number, so feel free to reach out to one of those two options. And then lastly, if you're a business and you're having some issues or you want to reach out to someone on the construction site, our construction inspector is Keith Hunter, and that's his phone number, that's his email address. And he's actually I think we're actually calling him a business liaison as well. So specifically, if you're a business owner in the corridor and you're wanting to reach out to someone, Keith is a good contact. And I believe that wraps it up. So I don't see any other questions in the Q&A, so unless Cam, have you received any other questions I don't know about?
No, so I think we're good to go.
Okay, thank you all for your time, and hopefully we will see you again in a month. Y'all have a good night.